So there've been a lot of ministers, including the Prime Minister, that waded in and put the boot in here before they've even seen the advice. And that makes me think they want to make a political point. But with DIA report back and say, look, they are having some problems, the council isn't meeting its statutory obligations, sure, that would be appropriate. But until we know that, it's all speculation.
Chris Bishop, is that what your team is doing? You're just trying to make a political point here?
No, I think we need to be realistic about what's happening in Wellington. It's a pretty concerning situation.
Which is what? So this is, he says a lot here in a few sentences that we could probably write a thesis on. We have to be realistic about what's happening in Wellington. Okay, unpack that, Christopher. What is happening in Wellington? Because what we're seeing from the outside is they're having to rejig a budget, and they've got till June of next year to sort it out. So what is happening in Wellington? And
I would probably get an email or someone every day.
Okay, so you've had 300 emails this year about it. How many people live in Wellington? How many of you? How many other people? So 300 emails doesn't say from 300 people. That might be from 10 people, 30 of them each. Email a day doesn't sound like a huge uproar to me.
For the last year or so, say to me, look, you should be really worried about Wellington. So
random emailers are telling him to be worried about Wellington. I'm just trying to figure out how this government operates with where they get their advice from, for example, because it sounds like the advice for the bush is coming from randos on email.
Not just about the airport sale, to be honest. That's kind of brought to the fore a whole lot of other issues going on inside the council. And I think Wellingtonians have been concerned about the performance of the council for a while. So
okay, now we're going to come back to this comment, but I wrote this down. Hold your P's and Q's there, Chewy. Wellingtonians have been concerned about the performance of the council for a while. I'll come back to this.
So Kieran's right, to be honest. The threshold is high. At the end of the day, 2 years ago, Wellingtonians elected a council. Some people are not happy about the performance of it.
There's another line that we're going to come back to. Some people are not happy about the performance of Wellington City Council.
But they also, there's an election in a year's time. In fact, round about a year. And so people will get a chance to express their displeasure if indeed that manifests at the ballot box. On the other hand, we've also got an obligation as a government to make sure that Wellington is governed effectively, and there's a range of options out there, as Kieran indicates. It doesn't have to be commissioners, could be an observer. Simeon Brown's the minister's looking at the options. He's taking the advice on that, and once he's made a decision, we will do that. He's meeting the mayor this morning, so let's see where that gets to.
Right. Now, let me wind up a little bit. The last comment he made, which I'm going to drag into this last part here, is we have an obligation as a government to make sure Wellington is governed efficiently. Now, let's just change the focus a little bit from Wellington to New Zealand. Do you think that we could organise it that the parliamentarians could receive an email a day telling them to be, quote, realistic about what's happening in New Zealand? Could we say New Zealanders have been concerned about the performance of the government for a while? Because he's saying Wellingtonians are concerned about the performance of the council for a while. Well, what if the whole of the country was concerned about the performance of the government? Some people are not happy about the performance of the council. Hey, some people are not happy about the performance of the government. We have an obligation as the government to make sure Wellington is governed efficiently. Well, we have a fucking obligation as the voters in this country to make sure New Zealand is governed efficiently. I'm just really intrigued that they think that they can go in when it seems like, and I'm still saying seems like because we haven't seen the evidence yet, when it seems like there's not very much going on there for be concerned about, and they're using language that if you use that language about them, the government, would still be accurate. Some people are not happy about the performance of the government. True. New Zealanders are concerned. He said Wellingtonians. Does he mean every single person in Wellington? No. New Zealanders, every single person in New Zealand? No. New Zealanders have been concerned about the performance of the government for a while. And we have an obligation to make sure New Zealand is governed efficiently. If all it takes is a little bit of, we're gonna put an overseer across this Wellington government. How about we all get together and put in an overseer over the government? Because it's the same argument. Just because you're the bully book boys and you can put your weight on it to do it over Wellington, well, how about we use those same arguments against the government, because they all fit, against the government, and see what weight we can put on them. That's the point that I wanted to bring out from this conversation, Chewy. I get the feeling, I get the sense you knew where I was going halfway through that.
I saw where you're going immediately. And the Bish doesn't see it. Like, if you're going to make a statement like, Wellingtonians are happy, how many? How many, and how are you proving it? It's almost like you should have some sort of way of working out who people want as councillors representing them. If only there was some sort of way, maybe every 3 years or so. I don't know. It sounds too hard to solve. He almost stumbled into it, that it's fucking next year.
Yeah.
Are things that dire that we can't wait a year? I think what they know is that it's not the majority of Wellingtonians, that it is a vocal minority that are pissed that they lost the last election. And that's why you've got these businesses at the moment that are writing open letters to the council complaining about cycle lanes ruining their business when they have shit Google reviews going back 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry your business failed. It's not because someone can cycle past it without getting hit by a truck now.
Yeah. Look, the rhetoric they're using just needs to be called out. And look, I think Kieran was very balanced there. He was like, well, he didn't use the word evidence, but when we see the evidence, if it warrants an overseer, then we put in an overseer. That's how you do it. So I'll come right back to the original point of the conversation when we were talking about it earlier. Why are they making such a big deal about Tory whānau and the Wellington Council? Because as you just said, Chewy, pardon me, the election is next year, right? That means the middle of next year is when this draft is due. Are they going to wait for the draft and then put in an overseer for the last 2 months? Of course they're not. This is all smoke and mirrors, but the question is why? Why didn't we have this with Gore? Why are we having this now? Well, there's something else going on, and we need to have like a group of people that get together and investigate politicians, and then we need like a way for them to disseminate the information out to the public. We used to have that when I was growing up. It was called news. It seems to be harder to find these days, but that's what we need.